from ackorganizationalconsultant.com. So, as you know, what we do here on this website is that you get a chance to ask a question, and every week I post an article and I also tape a video, make a video for you to answer your question. So this week it was actually Amanda from DC who asked the question. So she was wondering, how can I effectively make changes in my company? Very great question. I think it's something a lot of people struggle with. They wonder, okay, I want to make these changes, but it doesn't always work. I do my best, but people don't seem to run with the change, or they don't seem to implement it or follow my plans. So this week it's really important. I wanted to discuss with you Lewin's change model. So Lewin's 3 stages of change. So Lewin, maybe you've heard the name, maybe not. He's really one of the founding fathers, as you will, of change management. So Lewin said there are essentially 3 stages: unfreezing, movement or making the change, and then refreezing. So I'll just kind of walk you through those steps. The first, unchanging, is really a state where you help the organization recognize that they need to make changes. So it's really disconforming the current state from the ideal state. That's kind of the words that Lewin used. So what does he mean with that? So you just help the organization to recognize the need that they can do better. A lot of times business situations, as you know, inherently have that component in there. So for example, a company is not meeting their numbers, the stock is tanking, there's a high rate of turnover. That's typically a clear indication of people. I mean, as you know, I work as an organizational consultant, I work with large companies, and typically, or a few times at least, we've been hired by senior management when there was a high number of turnover. In other cases, there were other business situations, like expanding to another region, or maybe just not hitting those numbers, or not being prepared well enough for a launch as senior management wanted it to be. So those are just the situations where it's maybe a little bit easier for the organization to know that a change is needed, right? So if the organization doesn't see that need, so if the business situation that the organization is presented with doesn't clearly indicate the need for change, you as a change leader, you as a manager, you have to do that for your organization. So what you do then is you want to kind of create a gap between current state and future state. Multiple ways you can do that. What's just important that you create this gap, maybe through goal setting, through creating a vision. As long as you just really create that future state and the current state and help people recognize that gap, people will be motivated to close that gap. So what that does is that people are more motivated to make the change, and the change is more likely to be implemented. So first stage is unfreezing. And the second stage Lewin talked about was making the actual change. So he called it movement. Depending on your strategy, depending on your plan, whatever you want to accomplish within an organization, you make the actual change, right? So this can be anything, right? So it's really important that you obviously align the changes that you want to make with your strategy, or you just find ways to be a little bit more effective. So that they can be anything. Making the actual change, I think, is not the hard part. I think business leaders, from what I've seen, have experience with that. Yeah, you just make the change, you implement. What's critical, though, is that you get input from within the organization, cross-functional input, involve your employees, and maybe some co-creation processes, what have you. So there are different ways, but I find typically that this is not the biggest issue, right? Organizations recognize what they need to change to be more effective. It's more the third stage that is really difficult for organizations. So the third stage is called refreezing. So first you unfroze, you help the organization recognize that there's something they need to change, you make the change, and now you refreeze. So refreezing, it's kind of like the analogy that you have to solidify the situation. You have to solidify the organization and make sure that those changes that you make are adhered to, are implemented, are lived long term. So this model is really a way to help your organization make long-term shifts. So Lewin, I think it's beautiful. So he talks about different ways you can do that. Essentially, what for you as a leader, what's most important, you need to constantly guide behavior of your employees, of your direct reports, wherever you are, depending on where you are in the organization. You have to guide behavior. You have to give behavioral cues. You have to role model so that people within the organization see what's important. And that's really what people look out to, right? Sometimes within an organization, there's some anxieties, right? People don't always know what to do. But if you as a leader give those behavioral cues consistently and consistently guide behavior, that's how you make sure that the change sticks. Now, the hard part about that, you as a leader, as a manager, you cannot always be everywhere within the organization. It's kind of stating the obvious, but I think it drives home the point that you have to institutionalize the change, right? You cannot be in every situation. You cannot always help your employees to guide behavior. For example, when they're with a customer, you cannot always exactly tell them what to do, or you cannot always tell them what options to choose, nor should you want to, right? There's this thing, micromanaging. You want to give your employees some autonomy, but the principle is true. You always want to guide behavior, but how you do that is through implementing systems and processes and procedures throughout the organization. So what do I mean with that? So what are you going to measure, right, within your organization? What are you going to measure of your employees that indicates to them what is important to you and what success means to you? So what you measure, what you reward, the type of people you hire, the way you allocate your resources, the way you set your goals, right? So those are the example that you give in terms of role modeling, training, coaching, those types of things. So as you see, those types of things really help you to institutionalize the change, to really solidify, to kind of freeze, in Lewin's words, to kind of freeze that change, to make sure that the change is long-term. So guys, I hope that was helpful. I hope that has kind of given you a conceptual framework on how to approach change to create long-lasting success. So as you can see here, please go to my website, the video that I'm making that you've just been watching. There's an accompanying blog post as well on my website, askorganizationalconsultant.com. Go there. You'll kind of be able to read some of the main points that we've discussed in this video, plus some additional insights and comments. Please also, visit the Facebook page or the Twitter page. Like if you like the video, share it. Also, really important here at the bottom, you'll see subscribe. So all these videos are posted on a YouTube channel. If you're interested, if you like what you've seen, subscribe, because every week I'll post a video and an article post based on your question. So again, this question this week was asked by Amanda from DC, and I hope if you go to my website, you have a chance to also ask a question. So I hope this was helpful to you, and then please feel free to visit the website and ask your question, and who knows, maybe next week your question will be answered here through a video or blog post. So thank you so much.